What's up YouTube, it's your boy RJ and I'm back with another reaction video. Now we are reacting to 10 things Marvel wants you to forget about the MCU. Now honestly, with the MCU, I'm by the title, I think they're gonna really kinda go deep dive, because Infinity War, as much as I love and I like, well I want to say, well yeah I love, as much as I like that movie and love that movie, and I gave it an A, you feel me, in my review. At the same time, it did contradict a lot of previous MCU movies and previous MCU setups and stuff. Like it really did kind of contradict previous MCU movies that came before that. So I'm willing to acknowledge that it did. You feel me? I'm being objective about that. So I wonder what they gonna mention, you know, that the MCU wants you to forget. So I'm interested to know what you know, the list, because Woke Culture, they do their homework. So I'm interested to see what they gonna name, but we just gonna get into it. 3, 2, 1. Hey.
In only 10 years, Marvel have created the biggest entertainment empire ever. In that small amount of time, the studio has produced 19 movies, with many more in various stages of development, created almost
I didn't like that
TV
scene though,
shows,
him
and
holding
made
back.
more money than any franchise in the world. However, although Kevin Feige and co have pulled off the impossible, for evidence of how terrible the idea of creating a shared universe could have been, just look at the
Captain
failure of the
America's suit
DCEU or the Dark Universe. Not
so
every second of the decade has been smooth sailing, because building an empire isn't easy.
Hey, they said they was alive.
Issues with the mythology which have never been properly addressed, or business decisions that blew up in their face.
Said they were alive.
Looking back into the MCU's history reveals more than a few skeletons in the closet. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 things Marvel wants you to forget about the MCU. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified.
I ain't gonna say subscribe before.
Done.
Come on, bro.
Number 10. Trevor Slattery and the Mandarin double twist. Although Iron Man 3 is one of the most movies in the MCU, it took a lot of fans for squandering one of the biggest villains in the hero's mythology. Introducing the all-powerful Mandarin, a mid-movie twist revealed that he wasn't the big bad he'd been set up as, but actually a patsy. A comedy actor playing the character of Mandarin to obscure the real villain. Though it's a genuinely well-handled twist, fans didn't appreciate that such a major villain was reduced to a joke.
And then you had to watch like a little documentary
that Marvel eventually released a one-shot which teased the appearance of the real Mandarin.
That was some bullcrap.
The imposter for taking his mantle.
That was some bullcrap.
Unfortunately, that's all we've heard about the character since.
Yeah, they shouldn't have did that,
essentially
bro.
functioned as an
Iron Man trilogy only got one good movie in
fans that will never be capitalized.
And that's Iron Man 1.
Number 9. The confusing timeline inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Back in the early days, the timeline of the MCU was pretty easy to follow. Phase 1 essentially happened within the space of a few months, with an explosion of heroes all showing up at the same time. After the Avengers, though, things got a bit convoluted. For years, there were conflicting reports on how much time had advanced since that first team-up. But then
it's crazy how time flies
seemingly
so
swung in to tie up that issue once and for all, firmly rooting modern MCU movies in the year 2020. However, because this contradicted Civil War,
that was a cool
the directors
tie-in.
of that film and Infinity War decided to ignore Spidey's retcon, moving ahead with their own continuity that places the latest film in 2018, at least until Homecoming 2 comes around and fucks it all up again. Number 8. Tony wanting to bang Black Widow. While being a touch disappointing, Iron Man 2 is still an important movie, as it was the first flick to really focus on Tony Stark as part of an ensemble, as well as ushering in a much larger role for S.H.I.E.L.D. It's also notable for introducing Black Widow, whose characterization hasn't aged well. Although she's undercover and acting,
she should have got her solo movie,
to the fact that she's really
so long ago.
Fury, it doesn't quite excuse how Scarlett Johansson is confined to playing a sexy
the best
spy
looking Black Widow.
That's not even the real problem, though. Even if Marvel have made great strides to move away from that representation in future movies,
she's just there for eye candy.
The fact that throughout the entire
they need to
film,
recast
Tony Stark
when she dies.
His very best to get Black Widow into bed. And admittedly the character
she's
is
just
a
there for eye candy,
and he doesn't know she's actually spying on him. But still, that doesn't make it any less sleazy when he's hitting on her while Pepper Potts is in the room. Number 7. Actors speaking out about their terrible villain roles. Much has been said
Really?
about Marvel's villain problem.
They spoke
but the
out?
idea
Really?
that the studio approached their villains the wrong way
I
was
never
truly
know that.
cemented when the often A-list actors who were drafted in to play them started to speak out about how they were treated by Marvel. Hugo
Really?
Weaving was the first to really discuss publicly his dissatisfaction with the studio's approach, complaining about the extensive makeup process and how one-dimensional the Red Skull came across. However, Christopher Eccleston and Mickey Rourke were far more damning. Eccleston has
He was supposed to be so cool, man,
that the studio
but
were
he came out
dishonest
so
about
trash.
his part, explaining the experience made him want to, and I quote, put a gun in his mouth.
Dang.
What was even more incendiary,
Mickey Rourke.
angry and hard work was left on the
Hey, you need to play
Clayface in favor of a
Clayface
more
and
basic
Batman.
villain that made it to the screen. Recently, Marvel have had a better.
He was
run with
cool
these
though.
actors and
Okay,
these
Ego
villains,
was
but the
cool.
specter of
You
these
know.
disgruntled A-listers still hangs overhead. Number 6, Gamora being the last survivor of her planet. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy, Gamora is initially set up as a villain, the daughter of the Mad Titan who's hated by his enemies. Obviously, it's revealed that she actually hates her adopted father just as much as everyone else, as he destroyed her planet. That fact is reiterated by her character profile when she's shipped off to jail, which describes her as, quote-unquote, the last survivor of the Zorobi people. It's a blink and you'll miss a detail, but it goes a long way.
I swear to God, all this time I never knew she was
Along
black.
with why she bonds with Peter Quill, who's similarly the only of his kind exploring the cosmos. Admittedly though, all humans aren't dead. Infinity War ignores that character profile though, and clearly shows that Gamora is not the last of her kind. Thanos showed up to her planet and annihilated it, yes, but he specifically made a point of only killing half. Number 5, the interference of the Marvel Creative Committee. Although Kevin Feige has more freedom than ever now, for the first 7 years of Marvel's life, every movie went through the Marvel Creative Committee, a team of creatives from the world of TV, film, and comics who would give notes and suggest changes to every project. While this could have been great in theory, after all, it included veterans like Brian Michael Bendis and Joe Quesada. It allegedly made making these films even more creatively limiting. Not only were the notes given by the MCC basic and often preoccupied with inconsequential details like the precise signs of every fantastical item and weapon, but it took them an age to actually get around to figuring them out, adding needless roadblocks to the production. Thankfully, that setup has changed entirely, and now directors have more freedom than ever.
Arguably still the best Marvel movie
When
right
the
there.
Hulk was teased as the villain of the Avengers. Though Marvel was seeding the idea of their movies being part of one shared universe from the very beginning, the references and crossovers were all initially saved for post-credit sequences. You can see why they'd want to play it safe. This was an idea never before attempted, and the studio probably only had a rough idea of what they'd actually do if they ever made it to the eventual team-up of the Avengers. That safety net paid off in dividends in hindsight, as it allowed them to completely ignore the fact that the post-credit scene in The Incredible Hulk
I would have preferred
set up
the Incredible Hulk
as the
2008
villain
to
of
be
the
in
team-up.
the
Obviously,
Avengers
Marvel went down a very
instead of
different
that one.
route after this film
Me personally.
debuted, moving away from pretty much everything set up in the story. Number 3. Vision's power being nerfed. Powered by an actual Infinity Stone, Vision is introduced as being ridiculously strong in Age of Ultron, to the point where he can phase through any attack, easily take out hundreds of androids, and even lift Thor's hammer. With him in the team, there was seemingly no threat powerful enough to take the heroes down, something which the filmmakers must have realized once that movie hit theaters. Because the next time he shows up is in Civil War, where he's not really involved in any of the fighting and has started wearing sweaters and using his powers to create sick dishes over the stove. Even worse, in Infinity War, his ability to phase through attacks is nullified.
I know, right? You guys, but walked through the whole
on an operating table. That would be excusable if this was any other character, but Vision is powered by an Infinity Stone.
I know,
so
right?
him suddenly being weaker contradicts just how powerful those artifacts are supposed to be.
He's speaking facts.
Dropping great directors from their biggest movies.
Really?
Although I've already mentioned how Edgar Wright was forced off Ant-Man after developing it for nearly a decade, he's not the only big-name director to have a fallout with Marvel. Over the years, the studio has courted talent only to give them the boot after clashing over differences in vision. However, the biggest mistake Marvel made in this department was losing Patty Jenkins as the original director of Thor: The Dark World.
I remember
Once again,
that.
citing
I know
creative
that.
differences
She went on
over her
to do.
departure, the film was then handed off to Game of Thrones' Alan Taylor, with
Man, look how that turned out.
Then being given to a completely different team. It was Marvel's loss, though. As the
I know, right? Went to go do Wonder Woman. Great movie.
Not only gaining attention for the movie's progressive slant, but also for being a damn fine film in itself. Number 1. Asgard having a copy of the Infinity Gauntlet before it existed.
Yeah.
By far, the biggest con of the filmmakers wrote
I like that
in
version of
during
Thanos,
the MCU's
the way he
early
looked
years was establishing that Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet was being kept in Odin's vault on Asgard. At one point or another, the plan may have been for the villain to storm the planet and take it for himself, but that clearly changed when Age of Ultron showed him already in possession of the weapon. Ragnarok proceeded to point out that the version in Odin's vault was indeed a fake, which seemingly resolved the inconsistency. But then Infinity War came around, showing that Thanos acquired his gauntlet by forging
I want to see that scene. How did they, Valkyrie and them get out?
Because it's one of a kind, there's no way Odin could ever have a copy of it, as it didn't even exist until recently. Infinity War had to overlook quite a lot of inconsistencies to tell its own story, but this is one so egregious because by trying to fix it, Marvel actually made the problem even more obvious.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to subscribe.
Man, all right. Hey, they were speaking facts. They was speaking facts, man. What they said made sense. You feel me? Like it's actually more in. It's 10 things. It's 10, but honestly, it is more consistencies that the MCU does have. You feel me? Like freaking Cap, like Captain America, like in Infinity War when Hulk was fighting Thanos. You feel me? He was holding back. He was sort of punching Thanos and pop 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 pop, and then Thanos came on and then the fact that Hulk couldn't contain Thanos, but the fact that Cap can. It's when Thanos had basically all the stones, and he basically went. Well, he did it with his offhand basically, but still at the same time he went down, and Cap was able to hold him like that. Like, nah, I don't agree with that. Cap should have been dead right there on the spot when he came down like that, or he should have, he should have just slapped Cap or whatever. Man, that to me, I had a problem with that. It's a lot of problems in Infinity War though. They was naming some, so you feel me? Like, and people be asking me like, oh, why do you want Scarlett Johansson to be gone? What? First of all, okay, with Black Widow, like I said, she should have got her solo movie way back. Like, I'm talking, her solo movie should have came out when the Winter Soldier period, like Winter Soldier and like Civil War, all of that. That period to me is when her solo movie should have came out. You feel me? And really, Captain America 1, they could have came out with it then. You feel me? And because she has a very interesting backstory, but I think, to me personally, I think they didn't give Scarlett her solo movies because with Scarlett's other solo movies outside of Marvel haven't done that well. Like freaking, what was that anime movie she did? Ghost in the Shell. It didn't really work like that. Like anime movies, they never work like that. But Ghost in the Shell, Lucy, I think that was her movie she was in or whatever. Like she's never had a great movie on her own that I can remember like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think her at this point you need to recast Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow down the line, recast her, and then do her solo movie again. Because it's too late for Scarlett Johansson to have a solo movie about Black Widow, man. It's the time is past already, so you might as well just do it again in the future when you recast her. But yeah, the points they was making was solid, man. I'm sure somebody else probably got more inconsistencies in one of their videos, but I mean the points there, board culture, they was making solid points. But leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new. It's your boy RJ, and I'm out.
You should come and vibe with me. Help me start my cream. Keep you on the side with me. Spend some time with me. These other guys are wannabes. I don't know what they wanna be. Demons, they won't let me sleep. I wish you got high like me.